Welcome to Lesson 9.5, Factoring Trinomials. What we're trying to do with factoring trinomials is our whole goal is to take the trinomial, okay, x squared plus bx plus c. We're trying to take trinomials that we have and factor them into two binomials. Okay, so this requires a lot of practice on both multiplying or foiling, and then I like to call this unfoiling, factoring the trinomial into two binomials. With all of these, you're given clues and you have to look at it almost as a puzzle. So my first step is I make my two parentheses. I make those two binomials and start to set them up. Now the clues here in our first term tell us what is going to be the first term in each binomial. Think about what times what gives us x squared. Well, x times x gives us x squared. So I know both of those terms are going to be x's. Now, the next clue you want to look for is the signs here. I want you to look at the sign of the third term first. If this is plus, that tells us that both of our signs in our binomials are going to be the same. Okay? So this sign right here tells us they're going to be the same, and what sign that is told by the second term, and they're both going to be plus. So I can then put my pluses in here and here. And then I look at my last term. Okay, now think about how when we FOIL, what creates that last term? It's the last two numbers in both binomials. So this number times this number gives us this number. So what two numbers multiplied together give us 15? Well, they have 1 and 15 and 3 and 5. We then look again to that second term for the clues, because remember, what creates this middle term right here is actually our outers and inners. So if you look, your outers and inners have to add up to 8. What factors of 15 add up to 8? 5 and 3. And that's it. You could check your work by foiling and combining like terms, and you should get the original problem if you did it correctly. Go ahead and see if you can get the next three. And when you're ready, check your work. Here are the answers to the quick check. We have g plus 5 times g plus 2. Here we've got v plus 20 and v plus 1. And then a plus 10 times a plus 3. All right, let's look at another example. In our first example, notice we had both our second term and our third term were positive. Well, now we've got our second term as a negative and our third term as a positive. So it still tells us something, okay? That third term still tells us that our signs are going to be the same, but in this case, they're both going to be minus. Our first term still is c squared, so I'm just going to put, I'm changing those to x's, and that's going to be x, and these are both x to the first, okay? And then we have to now ask ourselves, what numbers together, multiplied together, give us 20, okay? And we know that they're both going to be negative numbers, so a negative times a negative is still going to give us a positive 20. And that when their outers and inners are combined, you'll make the negative 9 here. So I'm thinking factors of 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5, 1 and 20. The pair that works here is going to be 5 and 4, because notice our outers, here's our inners, negative 5, and our outers is negative 4. Okay? Again, these are like puzzles, and you just kind of have to practice them. Go ahead and try the next three quick checks, and when you're ready, check the answers. Here we can see in this second quick check, we've got k minus 5 times k minus 5. Notice this is a special case, and you should also see that pattern there. Here you've got x minus 9 times x minus 2. And again, notice your outers and inners combine to make that negative 11. And then here we've got q minus 12 times q minus 3. Go ahead and let's look at the next example here. We are now factoring trinomials and we have a negative c value. Okay, so this is going to require a little bit more work on our part. So if you start to think about your binomials again, your first term is going to be that x still, because we have x squared as our first term in the trinomial. So our first term in both binomials is going to be x and x. Now, notice this third term here is a negative. And that's really important because that tells me that one of these binomials is going to have a minus and one's going to have a plus. Now I need to start thinking about what happens to my outers and inners. Okay, so my outers and my inners, what happens to them is they make, and remember, since my signs are different here, those numbers are going to actually be subtracted, and the largest sign is going to result in a positive 13. Okay, so think about two numbers that when you multiply them together, you get negative 48, and when you add them together, you get a positive 13. I know, and if you need to, in your margin, start listing factors of 48. Well, I know it's 3 and 16. I know 2 and 24, right? I know 6 and 8. Do I have any pairs here that have a difference of 13? I do. 3 and 16 right here. Now, the question becomes, do I put the 3 here or the 16 here? Now notice with the negative sign, if I put the 16 here, that's going to give me a negative 16 plus a positive 3. For my outers and inners, that's going to give me a negative 13. I need a positive 13. So if I put the smaller number, the 3 here, and then over here with the positive sign, the plus sign, I put a positive 16, I then have a difference of positive 13. All right, let's check B here. And again, I'm going to use x's just because I like them better. Look at your first term, and again, it's n squared or x squared, and I'm just going to put x for both of them. My third term, again, tells me that the signs are going to be different. So one of them is positive and one of them is negative. Now I need to start thinking about two numbers that multiplied together to give me 24. Okay, so I'm thinking 2 and 12, 4 and 6, 3 and 8, 1 and 24. They all multiplied together give me 24. But I need a difference this time. So because this second term is negative, my bigger number, the bigger of the two factors, is going to be paired here with the negative sign. Okay, and this is almost like a guess and check. Well, 1 and 12, or 2 and 12, have a difference of what? 10, not 5. 1 and 24 have a difference of 23. Again, not 5. So I go down to 6 and 4. They only have a difference of 2. Not going to give me the 5. But 3 and 8 will work here, and they do have a difference of 5. So now I know I need to put the 8 here because that's going to give me negative 8 when I do my inners, and then if I put the 3 here, that's going to give me a positive 3 for my outer. So my inners make negative 8, my outers make positive 3, which has a difference of negative 5m. Go ahead and try the quick check. When you're done, restart me and check your work. All right, here we can notice we've got m plus 10 and m minus 2. In B, p minus 8 times p plus 5. And C, y minus 8 and y plus 7. Okay, and again, you have to remember, looking at that second term is going to tell us who gets the positive sign and who gets the negative sign. And because we have a positive 8 difference here, the 10, the bigger number, is going to go with a positive there. All right, last example. We've got two variables. Okay, notice we have a d squared here and a g squared here. It's really not any different than what you just did, except you have that extra letter. And the nice thing is you can look here and say, well, I have a d and a g. That means each of these, and I have a d squared and a g squared. So that means each binomial is going to have a d and a g in it. Now I can start to look at my numbers. And again, I have to use the clues. My third term is a negative. So I know one is going to be positive and one is going to have a minus sign in the binomials. Now, two numbers that multiply together give me 60, but have a difference of 17. Okay? And then by looking at the second term, the bigger of the two numbers is going to go next to the positive sign, which is right here. So I start thinking about multiples, numbers that will get me to 60, and I'm thinking 4 and 15, 1 and 60, okay, 2 and 30 work, right, 3 and 20, 6 and 10, okay, so these are all my pairs here, and I start to think about them. And I have to think about the ones that have a difference of positive 17. So the difference between these two is going to be 11, not going to work. The difference here is 59. The difference here is 27, or 28, excuse me. Oh, the difference here is 17. And the more you do of these, the more practice you get, the faster you'll become at picking out or eliminating factors right away. I knew it wasn't going to be the 1 and 60. They're so far apart. They're not going to ever give me 17. So the 3 and the 20 do have a difference of 17. Now remember, I want the bigger number to have the positive sign. So I put the 20 right here with the plus, and then the 3 right here. Now use your outers and inners to check. Inners, negative 3 dg. Outers, excuse me. Inners, negative 3 dg, outers, positive 20 dg, which results in a positive 17 dg. Go ahead and try the next 3 quick checks. When you're ready, restart. Here we go. You can check your work with these. Notice we have the two variables here, and it really doesn't change a whole lot of your process and your thinking as you're solving these or factoring these, but you just want to make sure that you've got the right signs with everything. And doing a quick outer and inner check is one way to make sure you're doing the problems correctly. Thanks for listening. We'll talk much more about this in class tomorrow. Enjoy.